What's up guys, Derek here with DRT Fabrication. Today we're going to do an installation video for our 3rd gen Tacoma hybrid front bumper. The first thing we're going to do is pull off the front grille. So there's two 10mm bolts, and then on both sides near the headlights there are plastic clips. So to get these out, you just want to pop a screwdriver in here, pop that up, and they pull right out. So if you have Toyota Safety Sense, you will want to disconnect the plug right here. There are also two plastic clips that you will need to press in and remove from the grill prior to removing the grill from the truck. Next thing is we're going to pull off this plastic valance. It just pulls off. There we go. Just want to pop this guy out. There's a handful of plastic clips holding this thing in. There we go. After pulling the valance off the front, you're going to want to come to the side. There's a 10mm bolt here, there's a plastic clip, and there are two 10mm bolts on the bottom that you want to take out. This plastic clip just pops out. So next, you're going to want to push up the fender liner and get these plastic clips out of the bumper and pull it back. And then we're going to do a rough cut just to make this a little easier. We're just going to cut the bottom of the fender liner across. This is just to get it out of our way for now. So the next thing we're going to do is pull out this plastic valance. This one was cut out for a light bar. Normally yours won't look like this, but there's plastic clips running along here. You're just going to put a screwdriver from the backside and pop them up and push that off. And then same thing on the bottom, there's plastic clips where these will just kind of pop off and you'll just kind of work it off. There we go. Next thing you're going to want to do is pop these guys off. Once you get that off, you can kind of squeeze around here and press the clips in. There we go. Go. So the next thing we're going to do is measure out our cut line. So we're going to take a piece of tape and we're going to follow this body line right here. Our measurements will still work if you don't have a fender flare like this truck. We don't use it as a reference for measuring. The first measurement you're going to want to take is 5 1/4 from this tip right here on the body line. 5 1/4. And then we're going to split this in half. So it's going to be 2 5/8. And that's the start of where we're going to base our cut lines from. So once you've got this marked out, you're ready to start laying out your cut lines. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to take a 6-inch square. We're going to go 3 3/4 from the edge of this body line to that first mark that we put. The second one we're going to do is going to be 7 1/4 from the tip of this body line. Okay, and then the next one is going to be 5 13/16. So now we're going to pull a tape line from the corner of this factory body line where the fog light is, around to our tape, to our marking point. So we're going to kind of look down the line of the tape and try to match this angle a little bit with our points that we marked. And then we're going to step back and eye it. think we're good there. So a nice little tip after you kind of get your rough line pulled is to take a straight edge up to your tape line and just see about if there are any gaps. You know, we had a little bit of a rise here on our tape line and same thing up here. So you can push this forward and kind of get eye level with it and look around that corner and see if you need to adjust your tape line. So after you're happy with your cut line, you're ready to take a cutoff wheel and follow your line across. Cut out this fog light. We can kind of pull our tape back a little bit and cut through here. So after you got the bumper cut off, don't quite pull the tape off yet. You can see we missed our mark a little bit here, so we'll go through in this spot and clean it up and check the other side for the same thing. After our cut line's cleaned up, we can go ahead and cut this fender liner across. Next, we're going to use a 17mm socket to pull these end caps off. And then we will take a 14mm or 9/16 wrench. You can either loosen this, take this off, and then take this off, or you can just go ahead and unbolt the whole thing as one assembly. Almost forgot, you do need to take off this factory tow hook. These are just 17mm bolts. You can loosen these. There we go. So next we're going to install our power steering cooler relocation brackets. It's going to be 2 brackets like this and then 2 1" 3/8 bolts. Bolt here, a bolt here, and then on the inside of the frame, right there. If you can see that, you need to undo that and then we'll bolt these brackets to the cooler. We're going to set that bolt aside because we will reuse it. This one will not get reused. Next, we're going to take bolt and washer. Drop that guy into there. And the bracket's going to point towards you. Do the same thing on the other side. And then tighten those up. And we're going to kind of loosely look at it and see kind of where we want those brackets, where those need to sit on the brackets. All right, we're just going to take the skid plate off. So we're just going to tighten these guys up, kind of holding the bracket in position where we want it. And we'll go ahead and get this one started too. So we'll tighten these guys down and then we'll move on to the next step. So if you're installing a winch with our bumper and you don't have a control box relocation, you can trim this bracket right here. We know this works with Warren and the Badlands winches. Other winches may be a little different, but I'd be kind of surprised if it didn't work. So what you're going to do is you're going to measure 2 inches from this back cross member, make our mark, and then you're going to measure 1/2 inch from the top. We'll do 2 of those. So we got our 2 inch mark and our 2 1/2 inch marks. So we're just going to pull this up straight like that. And we're just gonna go like that. So we're gonna cut this section off. Another thing that makes it a little bit easier to cut that out is if you actually drill, a 3/8 hole through this section, and that way it'll give you a nice radius corner in there too. So now that we got our cuts done, we got the power steering cooler relocated, we made the clearance needed for our winch. We're ready to throw the front grille back on. We're gonna plug in our TSS sensor, and then we're gonna do a first mock-up. So we're gonna leave the winch and lights and everything off. We're gonna test fit it, get it kind of adjusted where we want, make sure our cut lines are good. Once we're happy, we'll pull it back off and then throw the winch, throw the lights and everything in there. We test fitted our bumper. I'd recommend test fitting the bumper without the winch or lights or anything. It's just a bit easier. Make sure your cut lines are good. We're happy with ours, so now we're gonna start putting the winch in. I like to start with these front 2 bolts here. You wanna make sure you put the winch in before you put on the aluminum skid plate. So next, we're gonna get the back 2 bolts in for the winch. You can reach it from under here. So just gonna put these nut clips on like this. I highly recommend using anti-seize. If you've never gotten a stainless bolt stuck, I'm envious. Into the bottom and onto the top. We're just gonna get these started. So now that we got these top bolts started, you can stick a screwdriver in the bottom here and just kind of help line up those a little bit better. And then we'll go ahead and just pop those guys in for now. We got our winch installed, we got the winch plate installed. Our bumper does fit an XL80. You'll see a secondary slot back here, that's what that's for. It is important that you orient the bracket like this. We've already gone around and flipped the bezels upside down. So you're gonna wanna slide this in here without the bolt, and then you're gonna come from the back side and get this guy in there. Just like that. So we've got our lights all mounted up. Before we put the bumper onto the truck, there's plugs on the inside of the frame on both sides that you'll need to remove. You can just take a screwdriver in here and kind of break them out. Let me get this. Good. Cool. So while people are holding it up, you want to get the inside bolts started first. These can just be finger tight for now. Now that we got the 2 nuts hand tight on the frame mounts, we went ahead and adjusted the bumper. So you can take 2 washers, or 1, whichever you need if you need adjustment, and slide these under here. And then we're going to take one of our 1/2-inch bolts and put this guy in here. With a washer, and then a nut. And then we'll tighten this down. We'll tighten the inside a little bit, and then we'll move on to the frame supports. So these are our frame support brackets. The hardware, I'm going to kind of walk you through how to assemble these. So you're going to take a 1/2-inch by 4-inch bolt with a small washer. You're going to drop these into here. There's 2 bolt holes on this, the one closest to the edge. You're going to take 2 of these larger 1/2-inch washers, and then on the bottom, you're going to take a single large 1/2-inch washer. And we'll go over this more when we put it onto the truck. So now that we got the bottom bolts tightened and the inside bolts tightened, the bumper's adjusted where we want it, we're ready to throw on the frame supports. First, we need to pop out this plastic plug. There we go. Sweet. So now we're ready to throw on our frame support. We'll go over the orientation of the hardware one more time. So you're going to take 2 1/2" by 4" bolts with the small 1/2" washers. And then you're going to take 2 larger 1/2" washers, and those are going to go on top. And then you're going to take 1 and go on the bottom. And then that's going to go through the frame. Just like that. The top bolt on the inside of the frame is going to get 1 large washer and 1 nylock. The bottom bolt on the frame is going to get 1 of these larger laser cut washers and then 1 of these regular 1/2" washers and then a nylock nut. So now that we got the nuts started, we're going to go ahead and snug them down. We don't want to tighten them just yet because what we're going to end up doing is tightening these outside bolts first, and then once these are tightened, then we're going to fully tighten the inside frame support bolts. So now that we got the frame support bolts snug, you can still wiggle it around a little bit. Now we're going to put on our frame support, our bumper nuts. After we tighten these down, then we're going to go back and tighten the frame support bolts. This specific truck doesn't have a TRD skid plate, but our bumper does work with TRD skid plates. The only thing you have to do is add these supplied machined washers onto the front bolt only. That's just to give it enough clearance so this front lip doesn't catch the bumper. All right, so that wraps up our 3rd Gen Tacoma hybrid bumper installation. Only thing left would be to wire up your lights, wire up your winch, but other than that, you are ready to enjoy your new bumper. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate all the support. If you guys ever have any questions, email us, DM us on Instagram at DRT Fabrication. And till then, peace.